If you are over the age of 60 and you are planning to go to sleep tonight without watching this video all the way through first, you may be making a choice that literally costs you your life. I recognize how alarming that sounds. I know you have sat through health warnings before and walked away thinking it did not apply to you. But what I am about to walk you through today is fundamentally different, because this is not about a disease you were born with, not about your family history, and not about bad fortune finding you. This is about something you are actively doing right now, tonight, in the quiet hours before you close your eyes. That is steadily and silently laying the groundwork for a heart attack or stroke while you sleep. And the most chilling part of all of this is that the vast majority of people who do this believe they are doing something good for themselves. They think they are relaxing. They think they are winding down. They think they are showing their body a little kindness before rest. But according to data compiled by the American Heart Association, nearly 50% of all fatal cardiac events in adults over the age of 60 occur between the hours of 10 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. Half of them, while you are asleep, while you are completely defenseless, while the people who love you are just on the other side of the wall. This video is going to walk you through exactly what those nighttime habits are, why they are so devastating to the aging heart and brain, and what specific steps you can take beginning tonight, not sometime next week, not after your next scheduled appointment with your doctor, but tonight, to meaningfully and dramatically lower your risk. Before this video ends, I am going to hand you a complete step-by-step protective nightly routine you can begin using immediately. All I am asking is that you stay with me through every single minute of this, because what I am going to reveal in the middle of this video, specifically the third habit on this list, is something I personally believe is responsible for more silent overnight deaths in adults over 60 than nearly any other single factor, and it is something that almost nobody in mainstream health conversations is discussing. My name is Dr. James Hargrove. I am a board-certified physician with more than 3 decades of experience practicing internal medicine and geriatric health. I have sat at the bedsides of patients who survived overnight cardiac events and lived to tell their stories. And I have also been the one standing in a hospital corridor delivering devastating news to families who were not given that same gift. Over all of those years in practice, one pattern kept showing up again and again with a consistency I could not ignore. The patients who suffered heart attacks and strokes in their sleep were not always the ones in the most fragile health. They were frequently the ones who seemed perfectly fine on the surface. People who ate reasonably well, who went for walks, who remembered their medications most of the time. But they shared a small collection of nighttime habits that were quietly and systematically dismantling the very systems designed to protect them during rest. I am sharing this with you today because you have every right to know what I have witnessed. Most physicians do not have 15 uninterrupted minutes to sit across from you and walk through all of this in a clinic. But the absence of that conversation does not make this information any less urgent. It makes it more so. Here is something that most people genuinely do not understand about what happens inside a sleeping body after the age of 60. Sleep is not a passive state. Your cardiovascular system does not simply power down and wait for morning. Instead, it shifts into an intricate, highly coordinated biological repair cycle. Your blood pressure is supposed to decrease. Your heart rate is supposed to slow and settle. Your brain is supposed to actively flush out the toxic metabolic waste that has been accumulating throughout your waking hours. When this process functions the way it is designed to, sleep becomes the single most powerful form of cardiovascular protection your body is capable of producing. But when it is disrupted, when certain behaviors interfere with and derail that cycle, the consequences are not simply poor sleep quality. The consequences are physiological chaos, blood pressure that climbs instead of dipping, arteries that tighten and constrict instead of opening and relaxing, blood that thickens and sluggishly moves instead of flowing with ease. And in a body that is over 60, with arteries that are already less flexible than they once were, with a heart that is already working harder to do its job, that kind of physiological chaos can turn fatal within just a matter of hours. What I am about to share with you challenges what most people assume to be true about sleep and the nighttime hours. Stay with me through every single habit on this list, because by the time we arrive at the number 1 most dangerous habit, everything you have heard up to that point will come together in a way that makes it undeniable and deeply clear why so many people never see it coming. Let us begin with habit number 5. Habit number 5, eating a large or heavy meal within 2 hours of bedtime. Now, I'm well aware that you have likely encountered some variation of this advice before, but I want you to truly understand the biological mechanism behind what is happening inside your body when you do this, because once you see it clearly, a late heavy dinner will never feel harmless again. When you consume a substantial meal close to the time you plan to sleep, your digestive system immediately places an enormous demand on your circulation. Your stomach, your intestines, your liver. All of them require a significant surge of blood flow in order to process and absorb what you have just eaten. To meet that demand, your heart is forced to pump harder and faster than it would otherwise. Your blood pressure rises at the precise biological moment it is supposed to be falling. A landmark study published in the European Heart Journal tracked more than 100,000 adults across multiple years and identified a clear, statistically meaningful connection between eating heavy meals late at night and cardiovascular events during the overnight hours. The risk was particularly elevated in adults over the age of 60. And here is the piece that almost never gets mentioned in the coverage of these findings. Eating late in the evening dramatically worsens acid reflux in older adults. And acid reflux during sleep is not simply a matter of discomfort or disrupted rest. It can directly stimulate the vagus nerve, setting off dangerous arrhythmias and irregular heart rhythms that carry a significantly higher risk of becoming life-threatening in a heart that has aged. Margaret was 67 years old when she first came to see me. She was complaining of fatigue and occasional palpitations in the night. She had developed a routine of eating a large dinner every evening around 9 o'clock and getting into bed by 10:30. She did not feel as though anything was wrong because she had never experienced a cardiac event. A 24-hour heart monitor told a completely different story. Her heart was producing irregular rhythms repeatedly, every single night, between midnight and 3 in the morning, right during the window when her body was working hardest to digest a meal that was too large and consumed too late. We made 2 changes. We moved her dinner to 6:30 in the evening and reduced the portion size. Within 3 weeks, her nighttime rhythms had returned to normal. She sat across from me and said, "Dr. Hargrove, I had absolutely no idea I was doing that to my heart every single night. Most people do not. The guideline is straightforward. Eat your last meal of the day no fewer than 3 hours before you plan to go to sleep. Keep the portions modest. Keep the food light. When you do, your heart labors less, rests more fully, and is positioned to protect you through the night." Habit number 4, going to bed even mildly dehydrated. This one catches nearly everyone off guard when I raise it. After the age of 60, your body's built-in thirst response becomes significantly less reliable. You can be clinically dehydrated and feel almost no signal whatsoever that your body needs water. On top of that, many older adults make a deliberate choice to reduce their fluid intake in the evening hours to minimize nighttime trips to the bathroom. The reasoning feels logical, but here is the medical reality that your sense of comfort is concealing from you. When your body is dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker and more viscous than it should be. Thicker blood moves more slowly through your blood vessels, and blood that moves slowly is blood that forms clots more readily. Now combine that reality with the natural slowing of circulation that occurs during sleep, when your heart rate drops and your blood pressure decreases. And you have created an almost ideal biological environment for a clot to develop, break loose, travel to the heart, and trigger a heart attack, or travel to the brain and trigger a stroke. A study published in the Journal of Cardiovascular Disease found that even mild dehydration elevated the risk of nighttime cardiovascular events by more than 60% in adults over the age of 55. More than 60%, caused by something as seemingly small and avoidable as not consuming enough fluids throughout the day. Robert was 71 years old, recently retired, and considered himself to be in good health. He told me with a degree of pride that he made it a firm personal rule never to drink water after 6 o'clock in the evening because he valued sleeping through the night without interruption. One morning, his wife walked around to his side of the bed and found him unresponsive. He had suffered an ischemic stroke overnight. A clot had traveled to and blocked a critical artery supplying blood to his brain. His blood work showed severely concentrated blood. The medical team at the hospital formally documented dehydration as a contributing factor. Robert survived, but he lost the permanent use of his right hand. He personally asked me to share his story because he does not want anyone else to make the same decision he made with such confidence. The solution is not complicated. Drink a full glass of water 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed. Use the bathroom completely before lying down. And place a small glass of water on your nightstand so it is there if you wake in the night and need it. Do not trade your blood chemistry and vascular health for the comfort of an uninterrupted night. One trip to the bathroom is a vastly better outcome than a stroke. Are you recognizing any of these habits in your own nightly routine? If you are watching right now and something I have described sounds familiar, I want you to write the word yes in the comments below. It helps me know that this information is landing with the people who genuinely need it. And your comment may also catch the eye of someone else who is watching and remind them to take this seriously. We are now moving into the top 3, and I want you to understand clearly that each of the remaining habits carries a higher level of danger than the one before it. Habit number 3, undiagnosed sleep apnea. This is the habit I described at the beginning of this video as one I believe is silently claiming lives across this country every single night. And almost no one makes the connection between it and heart attacks and strokes. The condition is undiagnosed sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a disorder in which the airway partially or completely collapses during sleep, causing breathing to stop entirely, sometimes for 10 seconds, sometimes for 30 seconds or more. And in severe cases, this cycle repeats itself hundreds of times throughout a single night. Each time breathing ceases, oxygen levels in the blood drop sharply. Each time oxygen drops, the brain interprets this as an emergency and triggers a crisis response. Stress hormones are released into the bloodstream. The heart rate jolts upward. Blood pressure surges. And then, seconds later, breathing resumes. Oxygen is restored, and the entire sequence begins again, over and over, hundreds of times, while you believe you are simply sleeping. Research conducted at Johns Hopkins University found that untreated sleep apnea triples the risk of a nighttime heart attack and quadruples the risk of stroke. Quadruples. And studies published in the Journal of the American Medical Association estimate that more than 80% of moderate to severe sleep apnea cases in adults over 60 are entirely undiagnosed. The warning signs include loud and chronic snoring, waking during the night gasping or choking for air, headaches in the morning that seem to appear for no reason, extreme daytime fatigue regardless of how many hours you spend in bed, and blood pressure that remains stubbornly difficult to control even with medication. Donna was 64 years old and had been a loud snorer for years. Her husband had long since moved himself to the guest bedroom. She assumed it was embarrassing, but essentially harmless. One night, her blood oxygen levels dropped so severely during a sleep apnea episode that her heart developed a life-threatening arrhythmia. She woke up in an emergency room. The cardiologist who treated her told her she had come within minutes of never waking up at all. She now uses a CPAP device every night. Her nighttime blood pressure has dropped by 22 points. She tells people it is the machine that saved her marriage and her life simultaneously. If you snore, if you wake up feeling exhausted regardless of how long you slept, please make an appointment and speak with your doctor about having a sleep study done. This is not an elective conversation. This is urgent. Habit number 2, skipping, delaying, or mistiming blood pressure or heart medication. This is a habit that nearly every adult over 60 has been guilty of at least occasionally, and the medical consequences are significantly more serious than most people have any idea. Blood pressure follows a precise, predictable biological rhythm across a 24-hour cycle. In the early morning hours, somewhere between 3 and 6 a.m., the body begins its biological preparation for waking. Cortisol levels rise. The heart rate begins to climb. Blood pressure surges upward. This is referred to medically as the morning surge. And in people whose medication has worn off during the night, this surge can be absolutely catastrophic. The pressure inside the arteries can cause existing plaques to rupture, clots form rapidly, heart attacks and strokes follow. Studies published in The Lancet and replicated across multiple large-scale clinical trials have demonstrated that taking blood pressure medication at bedtime, rather than in the morning, reduces the risk of cardiovascular events during sleep by nearly 45%, nearly half. And yet the overwhelming majority of prescriptions are still written with the default instruction to take it once daily in the morning. Not because morning dosing is necessarily optimal for overnight protection, but simply because that has always been the standard. I am not advising you to change your medication schedule without first speaking with your physician. What I am telling you is to have that specific conversation. Ask your doctor directly whether bedtime dosing might offer you better protection through the night. And in the meantime, never skip a dose. Never take it hours later than intended. And never allow yourself to believe that because you feel well, your blood pressure must be under control. It may be surging to dangerous levels in the early morning darkness while you sleep without any awareness whatsoever. Thomas was 69 years old and had been managing hypertension for a full decade. He was what I privately describe as a casual complier, someone who took his medication on most days, but let it slide when he forgot, when he was traveling, when his routine was disrupted. He genuinely believed that missing a day here and there could not possibly make a significant difference. One Tuesday morning at 4:30 a.m., his wife dialed emergency services. Thomas had suffered a massive hemorrhagic stroke. He had not taken his medication on either of the 2 preceding nights. The morning surge had arrived with nothing standing between it and his arteries. Thomas spent 4 months in a rehabilitation facility. He told me from his hospital bed that he would give anything at all, to go back and simply swallow those 2 small pills. Take your medication. Take it at the same time every single night without exception. Set an alarm on your phone if that is what it takes. Of everything on this list, this is the single most controllable risk factor, and therefore the one that carries the greatest weight of personal responsibility. Habit number 1, the deadly truth about bedroom temperature. And now we have arrived at the number 1 most dangerous nighttime habit among adults over 60. The one I promised you at the very beginning of this video. The one I genuinely believe is responsible for more preventable overnight deaths than almost any other single factor. The one that almost no one speaks about in clinics or in headlines, because it does not look dangerous from the outside at all. Sleeping in a bedroom that is too warm. I need you to stay with me on this one because I know it sounds almost too simple to be lethal. But the physiology underlying this is rock solid, and it is supported by some of the most credible research in cardiovascular medicine. When you sleep in a room where the temperature exceeds 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius, your body is required to work continuously throughout the entire night to release that excess heat. The blood vessels near the surface of your skin dilate in order to allow heat to escape. Your heart rate remains elevated rather than settling into its natural protective nighttime rhythm. You perspire, losing fluid and further concentrating and thickening your blood. Your sleep becomes shallow and fragmented, robbing your cardiovascular system of the deep restorative stages it depends on for overnight repair and recovery. And critically, your blood pressure never achieves the natural dip it is biologically supposed to reach while you sleep. Research produced by Harvard Medical School and data published in the European Heart Journal have both identified elevated sleeping temperatures as an independent risk factor for nighttime cardiovascular events, and specifically highlighted the elevated danger for adults over 60. But here is the piece that most people do not realize. Extreme cold on the other end is equally dangerous. When bedroom temperatures fall below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, below 15 degrees Celsius, blood vessels constrict sharply throughout the body. The heart is then forced to pump against substantially higher vascular resistance. In arteries that have already stiffened with age, that kind of sudden constriction can fracture a plaque and set a heart attack in motion within hours. The optimal sleeping temperature, the specific range that allows your heart rate to drop naturally, permits your blood pressure to achieve its nightly dip, and enables your sleep to reach its deepest and most restorative phases, is between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, or 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. This is not about what feels cozy or comfortable. This is about cardiovascular physiology. A room that is only 2 or 3 degrees warmer than that range may feel perfectly pleasant. Your heart, however, is fully aware of the difference. Your protective nighttime routine. Now let me give you the complete protective nightly routine I promised you at the start. This routine is straightforward, requires no special equipment, costs nothing beyond your attention and intention, and if followed consistently, research indicates it can reduce your risk of a nighttime cardiovascular event by more than 40%. At 6:30 in the evening, eat your final meal of the day. Make it light, lean protein, vegetables, nothing heavy, nothing fried, and absolutely nothing after that point except water. At 8 in the evening, drink a full glass of water. Take any prescribed medications exactly as your doctor has directed, and set a repeating alarm on your phone so that a missed dose becomes impossible. At 9 in the evening, begin your wind-down process. Step away from emotionally charged television. Avoid arguments. Do not engage in stressful calls or conversations. Dim the lights throughout your home and allow your nervous system to begin its natural transition toward rest. At 9:30 in the evening, set your bedroom thermostat to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Place a small glass of water on your nightstand. If you suspect or have been told you may have sleep apnea, position yourself to sleep on your side with a pillow providing proper support for your neck. At 10 in the evening, use the bathroom completely before lying down. Take any remaining medications, and as you settle into your bed, take 5 slow, intentional, deep breaths. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system and begins sending the signal to your heart that it is time to slow, to ease, and to begin its nightly cycle of recovery. This routine will not cost you a single dollar, but the return on it, a cardiovascular system that is sheltered and supported rather than strained and stressed throughout the night, is immeasurable. Before you close this video, I want to leave you with something that I hope stays with you. Your heart has been beating for you every minute of every day for 6, 7, or 8 decades. It has never asked for a vacation. It has never taken a day off from keeping you alive. But it does send warnings, quiet, subtle, easy to overlook warnings, and most people are not paying close enough attention to catch them until the moment it is already too late. You are not broken. Your body has not given up on you. But it does need you to be intentional and deliberate about these nighttime hours. Because what you choose to do in the final 2 hours before you sleep is directly shaping what your heart and your brain experience over the next 8. Your 30-night challenge. I am challenging you to follow this routine every night for the next 30 nights. Just 30 nights. I believe, based on everything I have seen in over 3 decades of practice, that you will notice a real and meaningful difference in your morning energy, in your blood pressure readings when you check them, and in the depth and quality of your sleep in ways you may not have experienced in years. Please share this video tonight with someone you care about, a spouse, a sibling, a friend who lives alone. You may never fully know whose life you quietly protected simply by passing this information along. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, I am asking you to do that right now. Every single week, I release content created specifically for adults over 60 who want to live longer, remain stronger, and maintain their independence. Click that subscribe button and tap the bell notification so you never miss a video. And leave a comment below, telling me your age and where in the world you are watching from tonight. I read every single comment, and knowing that this information is finding the people who truly need it means everything to me. Your heart cannot undo years of nighttime stress in a single evening, but it can begin recovering tonight. The window is open right now. Start today. This is Dr. James Hargrove, and I will see you in the next one.